Amongst all of the Diddy trials going on right now, I have decided to not do a Diddy video. Only because I kind of like this white boy. I really do like this white boy, and his name is Chad Franke. And I was waiting for somebody to just interview just him. When they was doing the documentary for, what is it, Zulu, the platform? I don't know. I no longer have a subscription. I did that little free subscription. Not the Zulu people. It's not Zulu. I'm over here talking about the Zulu people. Hulu. When I saw the documentary on Hulu and did a whole video about that last video, which some of y'all was mad at me because I asked a simple question, which we'll get into later, as to why the kids didn't speak out or do anything, or why didn't anybody else do anything, which is a simple question. I don't know why you get in such an uproar for a simple question being asked. Y'all get so defensive. Like, am I not supposed to ask that question? I'm still going to. And that's exactly what happens in this interview, in the most politest way. I'm not that nice, okay? I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I'm not that nice. I'm going to be straightforward. I am a straightforward type of person. And it's honestly like an innocent evil, like a necessary evil. For example, not a lot of people ask the hard questions, and they especially don't ask a hard question straightforward like I do. And I didn't mean it in any type of like nasty way. It was a real question, because if you ask somebody, why didn't anybody like reach out for help or anything like that, if you ask that question, you really get to see behind the scenes exactly the mental state the person was in. And I'm not victim blaming, I'm not victim shaming. It's just a simple question, and a lot of people get in an uproar because they think I am victim blaming or shaming, when it's just a simple question. I grew up being a victim myself, and I didn't call or ask anybody for help for specific reasons. So I understand why people are in an uproar, but I also don't understand why people can't understand that asking the hard questions is a necessary evil. We just gonna leave it here. But I will say, I like this interview in particular by The Squeeze, because they pull that answer out of him without having to ask the hard question. Like, they kind of use psychology and ask like roundabout questions to get to that specific answer. And we're going to dig deeper into it today and talk about this video. The host of The Squeeze, hold on, because I know they're famous from Twilight, but I don't know their names. I'm not really a Twilight fan. What can I say? My childhood was like kind of taken from me, so Twilight is just like, it's out the window for me. Like, I really don't have, that interest. It was like Twilight to me. When I think about that movie, I think about like my entire childhood being taken from me. So it wasn't really a movie for me. But the host of The Squeeze are from Twilight, and it's Tay Lautner and Taylor Lautner, which I didn't even know they got together or married or whatever. But don't mind me, y'all. I'll be stuck under a rock half the time. Anyways, they did such a good interview. I just had to talk about it because they do really push for questions in a very polite manner, which I don't have the patience for. I'm very upfront. But they do it in a very like strategic way. So we're gonna get into it, because I really do like Chad Franke, despite the fact that I decided to make jokes about his family and their stupidity. But hey, that's my humor. It's also Chad's humor if you really get to know him a little bit. We'll get into it though.
Spend all my time helping you. You're gonna help me too. Well,
I'm sorry, but when she says that, I can't really take her seriously. Like, her eyes are so threatening, but the way she says it, I can't help but to, like, kind of chuckle. But Chad is also a kid. Like, that, to me, as a grown-ass adult, is not threatening at all. But as a child, probably.
Fake being happy.
I smile like this. I'm happy, mommy. I'm sorry, this channel is for jokes. This channel, if you're not comfortable with laughing at harsh things, like, this is just my personality. I'm sorry. It's called trauma. It's called trauma, guys. My bad. The one thing I don't like about this show, which I think it's necessary to make money, like, it's just a whole bunch of advertisements, and I'm just like, ugh, I skip right over them. I really do. I really do. That's the only thing I hate about this video, because why? What is this? I do like the lemons in the back. I like lemons. I like the lemon tree aesthetic going on here, you know? All right, we're gonna start with a little bit of how the coercion into the videos kind of led him to make the decision to continue with the videos. And I think it's really important to look into that, because that plays a part in the reason as to why he decided not to reach out for help. So we just gonna go straight into that.
you know, that's drama. That's, you know, that's pain, that's content. And I think she really knew that and fed off of it. So the camera would mostly come out when something entertaining was happening, or even if I was in pain, or if I fell, or, you know, got in trouble. That was good content for her.
Yeah.
And I think in a way it was also very, very bad parenting not to set the camera aside and just focus on me.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever?
that goes for all of us.
Yeah.
So.
Did you ever ask, like, do you remember a time you ever, like, I don't want this filmed, or like, can we not, like,
Well, I mean, we
share
saw
that?
one moment.
Well,
but
yeah.
did it happen
Yeah.
more often than
Yeah.
that, I guess?
Yeah. She was very persuasive in a way where it was like, hey, I don't want this to be filmed. And, you know, she would put it aside for a second. She'd be like, okay, we won't film it. And then once she kind of had a conversation and I started softening up a little bit, that's when she'd, you know, pull it back out. She's like, okay, he's calmed down a little bit.
Right.
So the paychecks weren't that big, and, you know, it was fun at first. And then, you know, then she realized, you know, this is a set. Our home is a set, and we have to say certain things to catch the audience's eye. And yeah, I, you know, start saying things just to make the camera happy, make the viewers happy. And yeah, so you're very much right on that.
His mom basically pulled the old trick of, let me actually give him what he wants, a little tiny smidge of what he wants, because I know he wants comfort right now. I know he wants to feel like I'm actually listening to him and not doing this to broadcast our lives on YouTube. I know he just wants sincere connection with his mom. So what I'm gonna do as a vlogging mom is just gain his trust, take away the camera, let him know that he can actually talk to me. But when he gets comfortable enough, I'm just gonna whip the camera back out and start filming so it could be more authentic for the camera. Though these are the types of coercion and tricks that play along with why he was so, like, confused and twisted up in his brain, especially as a little kid. You have that type of trust with your family members where it's like, oh, they won't break my trust. You're still innocent enough to where you don't want to speak out, or you don't feel comfortable, or maybe they doing this for a reason. Like, it has to be a means to the end, or like things like that. You start questioning in your minds, and you just fall to the emotions. Like, if he was to say no, his mom would get even more mad, and he won't get that emotional support. That's the only emotional support he had when he said, hey, I don't really want to talk about this in front of the camera. Can you put the camera down? She would be like, yeah, I'll put this camera down. I'll put this camera down just for you, honey. Just for you. That little inch she gave him probably felt like, wow, she's really listening. Like, she really is engaging with me and connecting with me the way I want her to. And I'm gonna just take this. And then she whipped the camera back out like, hey, honey, what were you saying? Like, it's sad. The coercion is really sad, especially he was so young, and he, of course, you're gonna have mixed emotions about this. It was almost like she knows how to play with those emotions. Like, she knows what he wants, and she knows what she wants, and what she wants is to catch it on video. So if she adds the 2 and 2, all right, I'm gonna give him a little inch of what he wants so I could get what I want. Coercion coerced him into speaking in front of the camera. And as you get older, it's just some things you don't want anybody to know. You just want a little piece of privacy, and she took his privacy inch by inch by inch until he didn't have anything. So basically, she was the director, which we all know that. But if you look into like childhood stars and the directors and how they literally trick the minds of the actors and actresses just so they could get authentic reaction out of them during like movies and sets and things. If you look deeper into it, it's really just psychological torture at one point. Like, I forget what movie it was, but it just came out that the skulls that they used, like the skeletons that they used, were real human skeletons. Not only because the budget didn't call for fake ones that look real, it was just cheaper to get real ones, I guess, organ donations or something. I really don't fucking know. Donated to science and it just winds up on the movie set. I really don't know, allegedly. But it's kind of scary that those are cheaper than like the fake ones. But to grasp the, authentic reaction of the actress who realized these skeletons are real and start yelling, like they do certain tricks and they push their actors and actresses in certain psychological ways to grab the audience and to foster authentic reaction to the point where it's not even acting anymore. It's just a natural reaction. And that's what Ruby Franke was trying to get out of her children. But you can't do that to kids, especially with a camera in their face 24/7. It gets sickening after a while. Like, mommy, chill. Daddy, chill. Some of this I'm going to skip over. I want to get exactly to the point of the backstory of the free Chad movement and the cancellation, because that's when things start getting like a little bit too crazy. And all these freaking ads, like, why do you have an ad from 10 minutes to, oh my goodness, a 4-minute ad? She's probably doing a whole bunch of ads, but like 4 minutes of just ads? We just gonna skip over that. We gonna skip right over that. I'm sorry, the squeeze. You did a good job, but like, it comes a point where you kind of have to spread out these ads. I know you need your money, so I'm not even mad at you, but like, 4 minutes? Oh, goodness. Anyways.
You guys watched the Hulu series?
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know if you did. Okay,
for
so
sure.
you guys know the video with, me sitting on the ground with her, and I finally revealed that I wasn't sleeping on a bed for a certain amount of months. And then when that video was posted, no joke, like that day was when the cancellation started. Like, immediate backlash on her, huge unfollowing. I don't know much about news outlets, but basically TikTok was the big push to kind of cancel her.
Yeah.
And that's when I started seeing her panic a little bit. And I remember sitting in the living room just doing my homework, and I don't think I've ever shared this before, but she ran in from her room, and do you guys swear on this podcast?
You're allowed, yes.
Okay. I don't know. And she, this is when she was peak in therapy with Jody, and she was very clean mouthed, and she was very peaceful and quiet. But after that video came out and the controversy started hitting, she ran into the living room and she was like, "You bitch, you did that on purpose. You knew what you did. You knew what you were saying. And she was just yelling. And I haven't seen this side of her in a long time, like a very, very long time.
I almost choked on a hot Cheeto, y'all. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I had surgery this morning. I didn't eat much. So now I'm just like binge eating. I don't want something spicy. This was the wrong time to choose the spiciness. I don't know why. Anyways, I think part of the reason why I like Chad is because some of the things he went through, I think this is like part of like trauma bonding or whatever. Some of the things he went through, I saw with my mom. Like there were certain points where I would do something so innocently and she would just go off on me as if I was doing something so horrid. I remember at one point I had 2 jobs, right? So I was barely home trying to make money because my mom stopped giving me money, right? I still had a house to live under, but I was barely in that house because not only did I not like my mom's attitude, but I was out there trying to make some money because you not giving me much, but just a house. At one point, she stopped cooking, things like that. Which I don't blame her. I forgave her a long time ago because the way she grew up, she didn't know no better. It is what it is. But at that teenage age, she thought I was just out on the streets doing like the wildest things. I remember she thought I was selling drugs and I was like, Mama, chill. Like, Mommy, chill. You're bugging. You could go strip my whole room down. You're not going to find anything. I literally had 2 jobs and she accused me of going out there selling drugs. Like, why would I even... And at one point, I was like, you're accusing me of stuff you used to do as a young child. Like, that's not on me. That's not on me. And that's the same thing that Chad just went through. Like, he got accused of doing something so malicious when it was just out of the innocence. Like, you want me to share my story, and I did. And the second that you get backlash for how you're treating me, which I didn't even realize was a bad thing, you're getting mad at me when you should really be mad at yourself. And Chad is just like so chill with it too. Like I used to be that way. Like there's so many characteristics I see in Chad where I'm like, it's cool that he's acting so nonchalant and chill and he can make jokes and he feels free to just be himself. But on the other hand, some of these traits are just coping mechanisms. And I think he sees that. I think he's intelligent enough to see that a lot of these are coping mechanisms, but he and I as well would rather be in this type of coping mechanism than to be in the darker side of coping mechanisms and things of that nature. You get what I'm saying? Not gonna say on here, but I think you get what I'm saying.
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I know people are upset with you. And then my dad actually came down and was like, Ruby, you need to like leave. Like, you need to get away from him. He obviously didn't plan this. He didn't plan for you to get canceled. And
how old were you at that point?
I was 15,
Okay.
15 or 16.
I swear. Why do moms just go crazy at that age? Like, it always happens around the teenage years. They think you out here doing crazy things just because you're a teenager. And they just go crazy, bro. Chill. Quite literally chill. I remember when my mom used to blame me for stuff. And at one point it got so bad that I was just like sick of it. And I was like, you know what? If she gonna blame me for this stuff, I'm just gonna do this stuff anyway. Because she's just gonna blame it on me anyway. So now I'm gonna do it. And I was like that for a while. Because I ain't do shit. And I got kicked out the house for not doing shit. That make no damn sense. Now I'm gonna go do, what do you think I'm actually doing? Rebellion. Rebel.
Okay.
Yeah, people were really upset about that. And just because she said it so casually, like, yeah, he's been sleeping on the floor. Yeah, he doesn't have a bedroom or a bed.
Yeah.
And people started catching on very quickly, like in the videos, to what she was doing. I remember there was a video with a little clip, and it was she took the door off my bedroom that I had, and I wasn't sleeping in there, but she still took the door off. And then she took the door off my bathroom as well in the basement. So she didn't want me to have any kind of privacy at all. And people started catching on to that. And yeah, the hate started growing and growing and growing. And then, yeah, she kind of just left it. So I just left YouTube completely.
That's crazy. My mom in the later years got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense, considering of what was happening in the households. But a lot of these traits that Ruby Franke possess remind me so much, and it makes sense now. Maybe she needs to get diagnosed. I'm not here to misdiagnose anybody or self-diagnose. I'm not here to diagnose anybody. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychiatrist. But, I mean, religious psychosis, bipolar, it's something. Something is there. Something is there, because ain't no way there's no mental health issues playing in this. Like, it literally has to be. I remember, sorry to put it back on me, but that's the only way I could, like, kind of make sense of this topic, because, like I said, a lot of these things Ruby did, my mom did. I remember my mom took the damn, at first, she couldn't take, I'm sorry, she couldn't take the door off the hinges, because we live in the projects, right? We lived in projects. She couldn't take the whole door off the hinges. So instead, what she did, and what she knew how to do, was take the doorknob off, because she changed all the doorknobs to, like, lock for privacy. I think once I turned like 13, I forget what happened or what she accused me of doing, which I wasn't even doing yet again. She took the damn the doorknob off instead of like the whole door. She took the doorknob off, so I couldn't lock the door. I couldn't hide. She could burst in my room anytime. For privacy, I had to put like a little, like, either like tissue in the doorknob, because it was just like a big ass hole like this. It was a big ass hole. I had to put tissue in the doorknob. So, not trying to compare, but anyways, I'm not going to get into everything, but a lot of people in and out the house, no privacy. I had to put like tissue so nobody will peek through the door. So imagine this little peek thing. That's not much. I could hide that. But whole damn door. Not even curtains is gonna help you at this point. Like, that is wild. And you're a growing teenage boy. That's embarrassing on top of that. That's very embarrassing. You don't want your goodies just to be shown to the whole family. Like, that's weird. That's actually really weird. That is abuse. That is, in fact, abuse. Yeah. Abuse.
Like, whose side are you on?
Yeah.
Because I could imagine that there's maybe a bit of, like, at first, like, defensiveness where you're like, you know, I mean, you're still a kid.
Yeah.
And people are questioning your life. They're questioning your parents, how you're being raised. Or were you already at a breaking point where you were, you know, seeing those comments and you're like, yeah, I'm living that right now?
Yeah. I wasn't active on social media, me personally, during that. So I saw what they were saying, but I didn't really take it. I wouldn't really reply to it or post it. That day when the video was posted and the cancellation started, from that moment, people on social media started saying free Chad. And that was a large hashtag people started using. It was like in the year 2020, so it would be free Chad 2020. And my mom, she saw that, and I think she got pretty nervous, pretty upset. She started hiring high-end lawyers to kind of shut all that down, take those videos away, because, you know, when someone wants to free a child from their mom's arms,
Yeah.
you know, that movement grows pretty fast. And so, you know, free Chad was a big thing, at least in my eyes, and I started seeing that. And during that time, I was working with Jody very tightly, very closely. She was my therapist, and I had like a love for her in a sense where I trusted everything she told me to do.
For sure.
And same with my mom.
Yeah.
And so when I saw everything go down, I didn't really think much of it. In fact, I actually knew how much money they were making, and I was nervous about the money. And to know that the views were going to go down and that the sponsorships were going to go down, that was kind of my main focus. Was, oh no, we're gonna lose money as
Did
a
you
family.
feel a little
And
guilty for affecting that?
I wouldn't say guilty because I knew that wasn't my purpose or my motive in saying the beanbag thing. I knew I wasn't trying to make them lose money, but yeah, I was nervous for my parents to lose all their income. That was my big concern.
Remember how I asked the question, why didn't he call out for help? Why didn't anybody in the household report it? Why blah, 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 blah. And y'all went up in an uproar saying that I shouldn't ask these questions, which I personally think is a necessary evil. We talked about that in the beginning of this video. He kind of goes around as to explain why he didn't call out for help. He first says that he wasn't online that much, and I personally don't think he knew the kind of toxic environment he was in, especially because he also in other vlogs said that he doesn't really have friends, he doesn't go out that much, he also didn't have social media, so he only knew the environment he is or was in. And for a lot of toxic families, if you know, you know, you don't realize you're in a toxic environment until you step out of that environment. So for the fact that he doesn't have friends, it would have taken him a while to step out of that environment and see what a real normal family looks like, what a non-toxic family looks like. It doesn't matter how many people come online or come to your face telling you that's a toxic environment, you should get out. It doesn't matter. Sometimes that does not matter at all, usually. It's not until you venture out and see what a real normal environment looks like, you realize, oh, shit, this is amazing. 1, 2, what the hell is my family doing? Like, why are we not like this? Like, and then you start questioning. That is part of, I guess, like the Stockholm syndrome of it. Like, since you're in this environment, this little bubble, you think that's it. That's all you know. Couple that with him knowing how much the vlogging channel is making, he had a sense of responsibility of, hey, my life right now may be a little bit toxic and I might not get to do like normal things, but on the flip side, this is what pays for going to football practice, going to track and fields, and just all encompassing it. It seems as if it was literally a means to end. Like, I don't have the family I might want. I might have a toxic family, and it's because of this vlogging channel, but also because of this vlogging channel, I get to do what probably other families don't get to do. We get to have a lot of experiences, and it was kind of like a give or take. Like, I may not have this, but I got that, and if I lose that, then what else do I have, you know? He was wrapped up in this world. He was nervous on losing out on money because the things that were paid for were the things that he actually enjoyed. Like, he goes on to say that he really enjoyed track and fields. And once it was taken from him, he didn't have anything left. So he may have not made physical money, but he made money for the activities, which is like barely anything, to be honest with you. Like, I started putting my kids into sports, finally got Tayden into swimming. It's like $300. Like, it's nothing. It's a lot for me, to be honest. It's a lot for me, but for a vlogging channel, that's little to nothing. Like, come on, bro. A vlogging channel making tens of thousands of dollars, it is nothing. That is nothing for them. One thing I just want to add on here is that they really don't get into the fact that Sherry mentions in the Hulu documentary that Chad, a couple times, his nose is bleeding after getting hit. They don't really go into that physical abuse in this interview. And I understand why. That could be traumatizing, but like, the hard questions, bro. The hard questions. Maybe I should really start a podcast just asking hard questions. I'm probably gonna get canceled for that, to be honest. I'm probably gonna get canceled for that. But like the straightforward hard questions that I want them to ask, it just doesn't hit. But not all channels or podcasts are going to ask the kind of questions I want. They will probably go around it in a roundabout way, but they did as much as they could to get the answers that not a lot of people were getting. And I like it because of that. But like the physical abuse, nobody went into that. Would Chad even remember it? Because it seems like Sherry was the only one that remembered that. And you see later on that Chad is missing like a few memories here and there, which is a sign of trauma. Your mind like blocks off a lot of memories because it was so traumatizing. And to heal yourself and to better heal your nervous system, your mind just kind of forgets them. And that is probably what happened to Chad. Chad probably don't even remember. Sherry is probably like, that was so freaking traumatizing, but I'm not the one that got fucking hit. You did, bro. How don't you remember that? I might have a point. Very interesting. Anyways, my therapist is calling. I forgot I had therapy today, so bye. I'll see you later. We go continue this later. My bad. My bad, bro. Sorry, guys. I had to talk to my therapist. Yes, I have a therapist for many reasons. Remember about that trauma I was talking about earlier? Yeah, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons. And I might just be living in trauma right now. I might just... You will never be able to tell, though. Which is what we was talking about. But anyways, I honestly forgot I had a session. And then she tried to call me. And I hopped right on. So... it was a good thing because the camera needed to charge anyway. It was about to die. So I guess I need a little break. But we're back into it. And this is the part where she criticizes the people who are asking, like, why didn't you say anything sooner? Which I'm glad she brought up. It's a valid point. So we go and get back into it.
Like, as you were just saying, like, you know, you loved your mom. It's your mom, of course. Like, you're going to trust this person. You're going to trust Jody, someone that your mom, you know, loves and trusts and is your therapist and you're confiding in. Like, obviously, you're a child and, like, you don't understand that maybe, like, their intentions or how they're doing things isn't necessarily the best. And did you feel, because I know I saw some stuff online and I felt like I got defensive over you not knowing you, just people being like, well, why, like, how did he, like, not see that, like, this therapist isn't an actual therapist, like, why is she, like, people just basically saying that, why didn't, like, how did you not see that? But I think people forget that, like, you were a child, and as we grow up, we're raised to trust our parents and, like, what they're gonna do. And of course you loved your mom and you trusted her and you trusted that she would put you with someone, you know, that was actually going to help you and make you a better version of yourself. And I'm curious if you've felt any of that heat or looked back on that time and been like, I should have seen that, or just what your take is on that.
And she actually has a valid point. I could see her side of things, but as a person who asks those questions, like, how didn't you see this coming? Or how can you trust your parents after they put you in certain situations so much? I could see both sides. Like, there's some victims who just love their parents so much and have good faith in their parents to the point where they'll just do whatever they say, or they're coerced to do whatever they say once the parents realize they're, like, really innocent and naive. And there's some kids who just kind of rebel and just don't trust their parents as much because they realize this is probably a toxic situation. And I personally don't remember how I realized I was in a toxic environment growing up, but I remember just having this anger and frustration of, why does my parent keep telling me I'm doing things solely for the reason of hurt? Like that's not why I'm doing certain things. And sometimes it would just be like random things she just randomly thought I was doing. Mind you, she had a substance issue when I was growing up, which played a huge part in why she was just not hallucinating, but just making stories up in her own mind as to what I was doing when I wasn't even doing the things that she accused me of. But it got me to the point where, like, I'm seeing all these actions in her that I felt like were not things a parent should do or like a good parent should do. And I got to kind of learn what not to do. And I didn't take my parents as like an example, both my mom and my father. I didn't take my parents as an example where, as some kids, they look up to their parents. I didn't really look up to anybody. I was kind of raised to like second guess the nature of grown-ups. And as bad as that sounds, my mom has such a distrust growing up to the nature of adults that she made me, or she kind of like told me like not to trust adults. Like, no matter what, if you feel like something's wrong, it just might be wrong. Like, she taught me how to trust my gut, and it came to backfire kind of on her. And I solely respect her for that, because if she didn't teach me that, I could have been in a lot of situations where I would be a victim. Like, not to compare, because my situation is far more lower scale than Chad's situation and his family situation. But to go back on it, I understand why people ask that question, because there's some people who just are like, ugh, get out of here. Like, you are so toxic. I know a lot of people who just like shun their family. Like, a lot of the black sheeps of the family are the ones who are the people who decided to walk away from the toxic family. There are a lot of people like that, and there's a lot of people who don't understand the concept of even trusting their family. Sad to say. And there's some people who grow up and are taught, hey, only your family you should trust. Like, there's different ends of the spectrum. Sadly, I was on the side of like, fuck is this? I know I came out your sack, but like, who the fuck are you? Sadly, I was on that end of the spectrum. Well, maybe not so sadly, but like, I knew from an early age, I am my own person, and like, family don't really mean shit, to be honest with you. Like, family could still hurt you. That's what I was taught growing up, and some people don't understand that concept, is my point.
Looking back at the whole entire picture, I feel like at least me personally, I'm very grateful for hard life experiences.
When he says this is why I like Chad. When he says this, like, a lot of people who grew up in toxic environments, they take like the hardships of what they went through in their toxic environment and transmute it to a different energy. So he has decided in his life, like, this is not going to break him. He's only going to take this, leave it as is, and whatever feelings he's coming about, he's going to transmute it into something better. Like, he is, I think, with Chad deep inside of him and a lot of his family members, they're so disgusted with what Ruby did that it was an example to them as to where it could take you, where all this anxiety and depression and just energy could take you. And it could take you on that deep end, and they're deciding to rebel against it, regardless if you see this as rebellion or whatnot. But I see it as rebellion in a good sense, where they're taking this and deciding, I'm not going to be that. That is a pure bad example of what to do with this distortion. You know, they taking that and making better choices. They seen where it could take them, and they're like, we not doing that. we not doing that. Ruby was like a bad example in the best way possible. This is why I fuck with Chad. Because he's taken his hard life experiences and he's kind of like, thank you for that, because now I'm a stronger person on the other end. So thank you. You know? I like Chad. Chad is cool. On a side note, it sounded like Jody just took the word distortion and try to like apply her own meaning to this word, but also use like esoteric knowledge to write her scripts on distortion. So like anything from, as Chad said it, for example, seeing his mom in a bad light would be distortion. He's satanic, which really just translate in esoteric knowledge, like within, so then without. Like whatever you feel within, you're going to be shown without. But Jody just took that and like twisted it and put it in her own like little weird weird teaching, and just kept using that word so much like it was engraved in people's minds as to be true. Like I don't know. It's just a side note. Like it seems like Jody got a hold of esoteric knowledge and was just like, yes, these are my teachings, but I have to replace the words into my own words so it could seem as if I'm doing something. I mean, it won't be the first time a Mormon church person does that. If you know, you know. Like, child.
Gotcha.
It seems like you were able to like do a pretty remarkable job at like separating it somehow. Like you were able, even when you were in it, in the thick of it, you were able to like be like, this is a business. This isn't real. This is a business. And you know, now looking back on it, you're like, I don't know. It just feels like it's really amazing how you're able to like separate yourself from that. Like, you know who you are, and that's like all you really care about.
Yeah. Man, I feel like we had a moment there. You just like described who I was.
Child, that's called disassociation. That's called trauma. A lot of people who go through trauma are either people who regress and act like children in their later years, or they are very much mature enough and go through the emotions that they're feeling and learn how to like put it in little files and pockets and understand like this type of relationship is only for this and this type of person is only good for this, not to sound manipulative or anything, but we have those little pockets where we associate people with, are they good for me? Are they bad for me? Because we were able to go through that trauma and realize, oh, not all people are genuine. Not all people are the person I think they are. So now I have to categorize them into, all right, this is only for this. This is only for that. I can only use this person for this. Again, not to sound manipulative, but this is the world we live in. Sad to say. A lot of people with trauma have to do that. They have to put up those borders. They have to kind of disassociate. They gotta do that. They gotta do that and stay true to themselves while in the process. A lot of people with trauma are either like very clingy to somebody or very separate from everybody. They just like to do their own thing because they can't get bothered. Me, for example, they can't be bothered with everybody else. You learn how to use these little tactics for self-regulation, emotional regulation, and just different personalities just don't mesh well with your type of personality. And you learn at a young age, like, oh, shoot, I need to stay away from this person, or it's going to consume me, you know? It's just it's just that type of thing. And just to go back on what he was saying, where Ruby was like looking at the markers and like trying to figure out how to best display herself in front of the camera, I think what was going on in her head was that she had so much pressure trying to make these vlogs work and get as much money as possible from these vlogs, and just having that pressure to perform all the time probably sent her on a spiral as to like, why am I the only one performing like this? Like, why am I the only one who's trying? It's like, bro, because these are kids. Like, they didn't ask for this shit. You want this. Like, you know? So when people, well, not people, when her kids or her family is not putting in that same exact work, I think she second guesses herself and wants everything to be perfect because she understands what goes into it, when the kids are just wanting to have fun. They just don't want to be miserable. I think the kids are very smart, but didn't know how to articulate themselves, as kids need help in that. But I think they saw her just try to be a perfectionist and be miserable because she's trying to be what she isn't. And they saw that and was like, disgusted, like, I don't want to do that, but you're making me do it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. There's a whole other 30 minutes to this, but you know, I'm gonna let you guys watch that. I'll have the link to the video down below. Anyways, bye.